Hello and welcome to another episode of Gaming Reviews, where this week I'm taking a look at Death Relives. I received a free review copy of this product from our friends over at Game.Press, so a massive thank you to them and the devs at Nyctophile Studios for allowing me the opportunity to get hands-on with the game. The game is available on PC, PlayStation and Xbox, which is where I played it, and at time of recording is around the £20 to £22 mark. So what is it? Death Relives is a survival horror game. You start as Adrian, a 17-year-old who is with his mum in the car on the way back from an event, and after speaking to your dad on the phone, your mum stops the car suddenly as there's a body in the road. She gets out to investigate. As she does, the car's electrics start playing up, and as she's distracted by this, the body in the road gets up, appears to be a monster of some sort, and drags your mum away. And here begins your journey to try and find her and understand what's going on. You find yourself in a mansion, which of course you have to investigate, and this investigation leads you to cross paths with Nyctophile, the god of death, rebirth and sacrifice in Aztec mythology. Nyctophile is in the game a 9-foot tall terrifying entity who begins to hunt you down, all whilst cast amidst a surreal horror-soaked mansion. Ultimately, you're going to be solving puzzles, travelling between times and avoiding death at the hands of many ghostly beings. Let's break it down. The first thing to call out is the premise and the background. The game relates to and is steeped in Aztec mythology, and it's clear the devs want to treat this respectfully. There's a note as the game loads up stating Nyctophile is a revered deity in Aztec mythology. In order to authentically portray him speaking his native language in our game, we collaborated with native Nahuatl translators and voice actors from Mexico. So it just shows they've gone that step to make sure they are respectful and to add that authenticity to the game. Graphically, the game uses the Unreal 5 engine and it does a good job. The graphics are decent. The overall look of the game lends itself to building an unsettling atmosphere as you work your way through the mansion. It's old, decrepit. There's some horrific sights as you move around of blood and bodies, etc. laying around. The sound is really good too. Right at the start, as you're working your way from the car to the mansion, you'll cross grounds of sorts and you'll hear twigs breaking under your feet, the crunching of earth, but more importantly, broken glass, of which you'll come across much of it. It really sounds like it's being ground up under your shoes. There's a fair amount of voice acting in the game, which is good, and playing with headphones, which both the game and I would recommend, really gives the sound a chance to shine in building the creepy atmosphere up. And the sound has to be important here, as it's a main indicator to the enemy of where you are. Mechanically, the game is played in first person and it controls fairly standard for these type of games, so the left stick controls your movement, right stick controls the camera. An important mechanic to point out is left on the D-pad shows your mission, and the reason why it's important is there's no HUD otherwise, so the game screen is clear of anything other than the game itself. Now, in terms of gameplay and the survival mechanics, the core of the gameplay revolves around hiding and evasion, so think of Alien Isolation. Nyctophile will hunt you down, and if he does, there is a way of banishing him, which I'll come on to after, but you have to hide, and there are plenty of opportunities for hiding. There are cupboards, wardrobes, boxes, etc., and you'll have to wait for him to leave the area. If he does get close to you or senses you in a hiding spot, you may have the opportunity to play a quick time event to keep your pulse and breath under control. But outside of this mechanic, it's going to be again stealthily navigating the environment, solving puzzles and defeating enemies. In terms of enemies, the main one is Nyctophile. As mentioned, he's going to hunt you down as you're going around your investigation. If you make too much noise or you just unluckily happen to come across him, hide. There's no other way about it, hide. He's not able to be killed, but he can be briefly banished. So you'll come across a shotgun in the game and a knife that will take him down, but it's only temporary, and when he comes back he will be stronger. So ultimately it's in your interest to avoid him rather than take him down. Priests are another type of enemy. They're ghostly beings who can be taken down. However, they require the use of an item called the sacrificial skin, which is like an invisibility cloak, which allows you to sneak up on them, kill them with the blade, and you can collect blood from them, which is important for something I'll come on to in a little bit. In terms of weapons and items, you'll arm yourself with a spirit gun, which is a shotgun of a sort, an obsidian dagger, and the sacrificial skin cloak, which I mentioned earlier. The gun will stun Shupatotek, which will allow you to take him down with the knife, but again, only temporarily. The interesting item you'll get is an item called the God Seed, and it's a plant that is grafted onto Adrian's arm, and it serves two functions. One, it's a radar, so it maps your environment. So bring up the radar and it will show you in the center, objective points as white dots, and Shupatotek's location as a red dot. It's also a life bar. When Shupatotek is banished, the plant deteriorates, and if it dies completely, Adrian dies too. So you use the blood collected from the priest enemies to inject into the seed to top up this life bar. I also want to call out the options in the game, because it's not often you do, but as well as the usual kinds of things like controls, language, etc., you have got some gameplay tweaks, and one that stood out was the ability to turn jump scares on and off. For me, there weren't too many, but it's nice to see the devs putting in the level of tailoring that they have, including, I think there's 3 performance and quality options you can choose from. And before I get into a summary, just to call out one thing I didn't get to do in the game, there is the ability to link your phone to the game, so you can get messages from characters. I think you can scan pictures of where you're at in the game to request help. I didn't use it, so I don't know how it performed, but to be honest, I didn't feel I needed to use it. But again, it's there for you, and if you've played the game and you have used it, why not drop us a note, gaming views across social medias, and let us know how that went. So the negatives, the game has some performance issues, nothing game breaking, well, except for one minor one which I'll come to. So I did get some graphical glitches. For example, one puzzle where you're manipulating a ball through a maze, the textures on part of the puzzle disappeared every now and then. The bigger issue was on one reload, so I got killed by Shupatotek, and when I restarted at the checkpoint, it was glitched and there was nothing, so I had to go back to a previous save. This was on the Xbox, but I've had a look and it shows that some of the other platforms have had their share of problems. But again, you know, look, they were minor, and apart from that one reload, I didn't have anything else major that cropped up. The hide and seek mechanic can get a little tiresome. I had a couple of times in the game where Shupatotek was constantly coming for me and I was constantly hiding. The only reason I bring that as a negative was that it just kept breaking any element of progression I was having, and it was more frustrating than it was tense. But again, only happened a couple of times. The puzzles, they're quite simple. You're not going to come across anything that's going to need you to turn to a walkthrough. So whether that's a positive for you or a negative, it was just to call out that I didn't really have too much trouble, and you shouldn't have too much trouble with any of the big puzzles you'll come across. Again, another minor thing, it's not in relation to the game itself, but on the Xbox, I didn't have any achievements unlocked. So maybe it's just me and my playthrough, but again, just wanted to call it out. Now, the pros, having said all I did for the cons, I did actually enjoy playing the game. It's mostly in part due to the atmosphere it generates. There's that tenseness to it. The audio cues are great that I mentioned, and the mansion does feel like it's seen some events in its past. Again, the premise of the Aztec mythology, which I'm not an expert on, is a great choice, and as said, the game does try to give a lot of background on it, so there is a lot of information and a good story, which I've intentionally stayed away from because I don't want to spoil it. Shupatotek as a foe is great, even though he can be quite determined, but you know, when you hear him and see him, you do panic and you do want to run straight away. And again, as I mentioned, the puzzles, with them being simple, you do feel like you are constantly progressing, so you don't ever get overly frustrated and not know what you're doing. So do I recommend it? I think if you're a fan of horror survival games, then you should find fun here. The game is reasonably priced at £20, and my completion time was around 4 to 5 hours, which feels reasonable. When it flows, the game does feel good. Does it do anything different or better than other games? Probably not, but does that matter if you're enjoying it? The developers, this is their first game, so again, I think that deserves a shout out. So yeah, go check it out, have a look at some demos, some screenshots, and as I said, if you have played this, drop us a note and let us know what you think.